if I want different results in my life, I'm going to have to stop doing what I've been doing. And I'm going to have to start to do all sorts of new things. I'm going to have to start new habits, new routines, new patterns of thought. And that's the only way that my reality is going to change. You want a better life? We have to think better thoughts.
Hello there, and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. It's Rick Nusky here. I hope you're doing wonderfully well. It is great that you're here joining us, and if this is your first time with us on the show, I am so glad that you're here. Thanks again for joining us. Now, on today's show, I have the pleasure of welcoming speaker, coach, and entrepreneur Lucie Ptasznik to the show. Welcome to the show, Lucie.
Hi, Rick. So excited and so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, look, you're a bundle of energy, and I'm sure this is going to be a wonderful call. Now, you and I are going to be talking about identifying and rewriting old stories and patterns, the power of awareness and the subconscious mind, and how to transform your identity and manage your state such that you can live your best life. So there is certainly a great deal to unpack there. But what we do in the early stages of the call, Lucy, is we try to take a little bit of time to learn a little bit about you. So where are you calling in from today?
I'm actually in St. Louis today, but I live in Michigan. So born and raised in the Mitten.
Right. So you travel around a fair bit?
Quite a bit. I live in Michigan. My boyfriend lives in St. Louis. So we do share time. We split time back and forth. But we also speak quite a bit all over the country. So
you get around.
I have a service dog. She's a German Shepherd, and she's got her own Delta Sky Mile number.
Oh, that is excellent. Oh, look, I'm a lover of big dogs. We have Rottweilers. Do you have a favorite breed?
German Shepherd,
You
hands
do?
down.
Yeah. Long hair?
I would say maybe medium.
Yeah.
It's not super long, but it's also not super short.
Now, I don't know about what your house looks like with regard to dog hair, but ours is absolutely covered in it all the time. Do you have a problem with that?
You know what? I feel like I got so blessed with her in every way imaginable because there's a little bit, I mean, like it's not crazy. It's nothing compared to my friends or family where I'll go to their house and there's dog hair everywhere. I feel like I just feel like she's perfect in every single way.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, how was it that you came about to have a service dog? How does that come about?
Well, I like to tell she's medical alert
Right.
and
Got it.
yeah.
Got it. Fantastic. I understand. Now tell me, out of all the locations that you could be in, where do you prefer to be? You've mentioned that you travel, but do you have a favorite place?
Anywhere tropical.
Anywhere
love
tropical.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking Maldives. I'm thinking Mauritius. I'm thinking Bahamas. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, the
Florida?
Caribbean is I really I also love languages. So I speak Spanish, Portuguese, and French. And that's why I really do love, like, Miami is one of my favorite places just because I'm able to speak all three of those languages in any
Yeah.
given day, depending on who I run into. Um, so that's a lot of fun, but really anywhere, I love exploring and adventuring in South America, in the Caribbean. And
Yep.
I feel like traveling just gives you it shifts your perspective and just gives you so much to be grateful for because we take so much for granted in our everyday lives.
Oh, yes. And culturally, I find it very interesting that somebody who's multilingual, I think that's what you call it, is able to just converse in the local language. And yet some people don't recognize maybe that you don't know their language. Do you ever catch people out? They don't recognize it.
Do I ever what?
Do you ever catch people out there speaking their local language of which you know one, and then they don't realize you speak their language? Has that ever happened to you before?
Oh yeah, all the time, all the time. There, yes, absolutely.
I can imagine the fun times you can have with that. There's actually a YouTuber that I enjoy watching. He speaks Mandarin fluently, but he's a Westerner, and quote unquote Westerner, and they're always shocked. The look on their faces when they realise he can speak fluent Mandarin. It's just an incredible skill to have. Now, how did you pick that up? Is that something that you studied for? How did that come about?
I feel like there's a couple things like Horses and languages have always been my primary passions in life. And my mom's Mexican, my dad's Polish Italian.
Mm.
So my nana, my mom's parents came from Mexico, and when they came here, they were faced with a lot of prejudice. So they decided, we're in America, our kids are going to speak English. So
Ah,
therefore, my nana never taught my mom or my uncles really how to speak Spanish correctly. So my mom will speak like kind of like a broken Spanish.
ah.
Um, but when I was growing up, my nana would always talk bad about me in front of me to my mom in Spanish. So like I always wanted to know what she said, and like I knew like the basics, like agua, yo quiero, vamos, like just stuff like the basics. And sure enough, I took Spanish 1 in as a freshman in high school, and I sat next to the chick who didn't speak any English. And after that first year, I was fluent, and then I went from Spanish 1 to Spanish 3 to Spanish 5 as a junior. And then when I was a senior, they sent me off to go take college courses, and that's when I started taking French as a senior, and I did French 1 and 2 in my senior year.
Ah.
So,
Yeah, wow.
yeah.
So do you aspire to learn any other languages, Lucy?
I feel like Italian would probably be, like,
A good
very
fit?
much so in alignment, pretty
Yeah.
easy.
Fantastic. I'm pretty sure you'd be able to pick it up pretty easily. That's that's the vibes that I'm getting. Now, tell me a little bit about your life around horses. I'd love to learn more.
Yeah, so I've ever since I can remember, I've always been obsessed with horses.
Yeah.
So much to the point where I grew up in the suburbs just outside of Detroit, and both of my parents were blue collar workers. My mom had 2 factory jobs, and every single day I would beg my dad, "Please, please buy me a horse." Um, Clearly, that was out of the realm of possibilities. So I did what I could do next, which was pray about it. So every night I would pray, "Dear God, please let me just
Oh,
dream that I'm riding a horse in my dreams, so that way it feels like I'm actually experiencing it in real life." And oh my gosh, Rick, I can't tell you how many times I was dreaming I'd put my left foot in the stirrup, and as I'm swinging my right leg over to sit in the saddle, poof, I wake up and I'm like, "Oh my God, I
so
was so
real.
close."
Yeah.
So, sure enough, I figured out from a very young age that I had to take matters into my own hands. So, the day I turned 16 was the day I got my driver's license, and the same day that I put my ad on Craigslist saying, "I'll ride your horse for free." And sure enough, I had all these phone calls from a bunch of different yahoos calling me with their unbroke greenbroke horses that hadn't been ridden in 5 to 10 years. And here I am, just like the happiest thing, driving all over God's country, riding these people's horses, getting bucked off, thrown off, flipped on top of, like, all the things. But it's again one of those things where you fail forward and you learn from your mistakes. And I just had this like relentless drive to never give up. So therefore, like, it didn't matter how many times I got bucked off. I was always just the happiest thing to crawl right back in the saddle and keep going. And so I never received any sort of formal instruction or education, but the horses taught me everything that I know. And now I'm a firm believer in, if you can find out what your talent is and exploit it in the service of others, you are going to be met with not only tremendous fulfillment and success, but abundance in all areas of your life.
That's
So,
that's incredible feedback. Thank you so very much. Now excuse my ignorance here, Lucy, because I don't know too much about horses. I've been around horses, interestingly, most of my life, but I don't understand the differences. Do you have a particular horse? Like I think there's Mustangs. There's all sorts of different types of horses. Is there a favorite for you?
I feel like my personal horse is a quarter horse Andalusian cross. But I also own I anywhere between 30 to 50 other horses, and they can range and breed from anything from paint horses to quarter horses, gaited horses, halflingers, a little bit of everything. But I feel like quarter horses are probably my favorite. Like quarter horses and paint. A paint horse is essentially a quarter horse with pretty colors.
Got it.
So I'd probably, and like draft crosses are really nice too. Warm bloods are really, it's really hard to choose just
Yes, you can't
one.
be biased, can you? I like the ones that look like the cows with the patches all over them. They're my favorite. I really like
Those,
them.
yes, those are the paint ones. I love
Oh,
those
they are the
ones.
paint ones.
Yes,
I always call them patch horses. I know.
I love that.
Yeah, fantastic. Now tell me, do they have different attitudes?
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I love so much about what I do is that um so I was able to transform my uh the childhood dream, and now I buy, train, and sell horses all over the country, and I went on to open up one of Michigan's largest public trail riding
Oh,
companies.
wow.
So one of my favorite things that I get to do is I'm constantly buying, training, and working with new horses and their personalities. So yes, every single one has a different personality, and some some are breed specific, but not necessarily. I mean, every single one is so unique in its own way, and I feel like that's what I'm very blessed to be able to work with all the
Different
different.
forces. Now, I know
Yeah.
that you would be working with lots of different people. Is that something that because you're doing some other things right now, do you still run that business in the background or how's that work?
Yes, it's still being ran in the background. One of the biggest lessons that I've learned in the recent years is how to scale a business by making sure that you're hiring the right people and putting them in the right places. For so many years, I was a solopreneur where I felt like I had to do everything and nobody could do it better than me. And my business was unique because of this. And if I didn't do it, it was going to fail. And what was a really hard lesson for me to really wrap my mind around was when you hire the right people and you sort of let go and let God or just trust the process, you're gonna find the right people, put them in the right places, and you're gonna be pleasantly surprised when they're doing a better job than you did at that job because you were so burnt out with everything else you had on your plate.
So you found
So
it difficult to let go? Because I certainly would have.
oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, a lot of my identity was wrapped up into, the horses, like the horse business and buying, trading, and selling and just everything. So, um, letting letting go of the control of that was definitely a big learning process for me, and understanding that in order to grow the business, you can't continue to work in the business. You have to be able to work on the business. And in order to do that, you have to free up your time, and you can't spend your time doing the 10 or $20 an hour tasks. You have to put those people in those positions to do that for you, so that way you can work in your unique genius zone and essentially grow the business and allow it and create more opportunities.
Opportunities, yeah, you do the top tier stuff and leave the operational stuff to somebody else. That's wonderful feedback. Now, before we shift gears and move into the core of the call, there'll be a lot of entrepreneurs on the show today that are listening intently to this call, which I'm absolutely loving. Now, but tell us a little bit about your daily routine. Do you get up early?
Yes.
You're an early riser.
Yes. I
What?
used to not be, but yes, now I absolutely am.
I personally find that life's too precious to waste. Is that what motivates you to get up early in the morning, or is it the businesses? What gets you out of bed?
I'm in love with my morning routine. Like I love my morning routine so, so much. And I feel like it just sets me up for success and puts me in the right mind state, the right state of mind.
Yep.
So um yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what that includes. You obviously get up in the morning. You have your morning breakfast. Maybe some people do, some people don't. Then you might do some exercise, meditate. What's involved?
So the first thing, as soon as I open my eyes, is I meditate.
Hmm.
That for me is a non-negotiable. I started meditating when I was 22 years old, and it's one of those things that I would highly recommend every single person start implementing, because it's going to take your life and to just it's going to level up your life in every way imaginable. So, and it's only 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes. Well, that's what I like to tell people, that all they have to do is invest 10 to 15 minutes a day and they will start to see and feel incredible results. So, first thing I do is meditate. Some days it's 15 minutes, some
Yep.
days it's 45 or 60 minutes. It kind of depends what's going on that day. Next thing I do is cold shower. So I will cold shower from anywhere from a minute to 5 minutes, depending on what's going on.
Mm.
Um, I feel like that just kind of breeds discipline. You never wake up and you're like, oh, yay, I'm so excited to jump in this cold shower. But you teach, it's like you train your mind that like that when your mind says do this, you do it.
You do
And
it.
you don't ask questions, you don't second guess yourself. I said do it, body moves, body does it.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like that's another thing that I actually look forward to because you always feel so good when you come out of it. That's really the win there. And then I do some journaling and then I read 10 pages. So the journaling is there's this really cool 369. It's called Project 369.
Yes, yes.
Are you familiar with it?
I've heard of it actually. Just briefly. I
Yeah.
don't know the deep depth details.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful like journaling book. Basically, you write out your affirmation, you write out your I am affirmations,
Mm.
and then you write out whatever it is that you want to create or attract or manifest into your life. Um, you write it down 3 times in the morning, 6 times in the afternoon, and 9 times at night. And so, it's incredible. You start writing these things out, and it's beautiful to watch them effortlessly flow into your experience.
You've talked about some really key things that I think make up a wonderful life. You've talked about meditation, you've talked about discipline through the cold showers, and you've also talked about manifestation. Let's talk about manifestation some more because I know that it's core to your being.
Yes. Oh my God. Manifesting is my favorite thing. It's always so much fun, especially like with entrepreneurs, because with entrepreneurs, they really understand that the sky's the limit and that whatever you put out is what you're going to get back, whether that's in business or in life. And I'm a huge proponent of the law of attraction and teaching people how to leverage the laws of the universe and understanding that we live in this vibrational universe where all things move and all things vibrate. And every moment is a manifested miracle. You can be, do, have anything that you can dream of. If the mind can conceive and believe an idea, it can achieve the idea. And so that's kind of where I'm now on this new journey
Mm.
where I just want to give back and serve as many people as possible. I want to positively impact. I want to positively impact as many
Yeah, yeah.
people as possible, and just to teach them that the sky's the limit. And we have a 16-week program that essentially allows people
Helps you
to
do that.
really reprogram their subconscious and transform their identity so that way people can start taking massive action towards their goals.
You
So
tell you what, you have this wonderful glow about you, this aura. And, I wonder, I know that there's a science behind this. You've talked about how we are energy beings, on this, human plane, having this human experience. Do you see the aura around people? Can you feel it intuitively when you meet somebody, whether or not they need help or whether or not they're doing really well?
I can't see auras when I
Mm,
look at people, but I feel like we're all energetic beings and we're all empathic beings.
mm.
We're all vibrational interpreters. So when you think about our five senses, when we're listening to it, when we're hearing a sound and we're listening to a noise and we're interpreting, what are we doing? We're interpreting vibration. When we're looking at objects and and light is entering our eyes are interpreting vibration. So we're constantly, as we move through this 3D time space reality, we're constantly interpreting vibration. And since we're all made of atoms, we're all energetic by nature. And that's how come when you get around someone, you're like, oh my God, like I love that person's energy. That person is so fun. That person's upbeat. How does that person make you feel is the question. What are you feeling from that person? And that, and we all have the ability to kind of tap into that as we're all empaths or
Yeah,
empathetic beings.
got it.
It's kind of just opening yourself up and kind of allowing yourself to trust your intuition and lean into that a little bit more.
Mm.
Where some people practice, some people have been practicing using their intuition for years, and that's why they've experienced the success and the fulfillment that they have today. Because at the end of the day, intuition is just God speaking to you and you listening. Um,
Yes. Oh, I tell you what, this call is brightening up my day, knowing, and I really appreciate you opening up and sharing with us. Now, I know that you recently attended a Tony Robbins Date with Destiny. Now, tell us what that is like.
oh my God, it was amazing. It was amazing. So I went to Date with Destiny. It was 6 days. And oh my gosh, Rick, this is an immersive experience. It starts at 10 a.m., it ends at 3 o'clock in the morning, almost
Oh,
every single day.
wow. Are you kidding me?
Oh my God. And day 4 was relationships day. I left the hotel at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm walking out to my hotel with like the sun rising behind me, and like the sky was purple and pink and oh, it was just
Beautiful.
breathtakingly beautiful. And I'm like looking at my clock. I'm like, all right, well, I got 2 hours of sleep and then we're starting over again. So
Oh, how does he keep up the energy? It just blows my mind.
I love how he explains it, and how he explains that time is just a construct that we've created,
Yep.
and that time is really how we choose to experience it. We can be sitting in the cube in front of our desk, and for what can feel like hours and hours, or we can be hanging out with our friends, maybe like dancing at a wedding, and the whole night can go by super in a blink of an eye.
Yep.
So it's all about what emotions you're experiencing during that time. And he does such a phenomenal job of getting everybody in a peak state and keeping everybody so interested and engaged. And you're constantly doing different exercises with the music blaring, and everybody's dancing and singing. And so like one minute we might be like just jumping up and down as much as we can, and then another thing that he had us do was like so cool. Everybody would turn, and then you'd give massages, and so like you'd be massaging and someone would be massaging you, and then he'd be like, okay, now switch, and then you turn and then you would massage this person. And then like I was super blessed because I sat next to this guy from UK, and he used to work for Tony Robbins, and he would do the fire walk. So not
Oh,
only did he have like a backpack of like endless supplies and snacks and treats, he also happened to bring a massage gun. So,
of course he did.
so that was really, really awesome.
So, they're formative moments in our lives. I've been to a few of these events myself, and I often find when I leave, I feel one of two ways. I'm energized. Well, one of three ways. I'm energized, I'm disappointed, or I have a mission. Did you feel like you left there with a mission? And if so, what is your mission?
Oh, to serve. That was my mission. I really truly believe that if you're blessed, be a blessing. And I can say with absolute certainty that I've been super blessed my entire life. And just from everything, from even my parents to my family to just going after my dreams and pursuing my passion, even though it's scary. I left corporate and it was one of the scariest decisions I've ever made, but it was one of the most rewarding decisions that I've ever made. And I haven't looked back one day. There's never been one day of regret from
From
stepping out of
that,
my corporate job and pursuing my dream. So I would say that the Tony Robbins event, it was oh my gosh,
catalytic almost.
very much so, in the sense that it was like breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough, and talk about multiple breakthroughs.
I love it.
And you just walked out of there with a sense of self, like total peace. It was really incredible to me how he was able to cultivate such an atmosphere of healing, and everybody that you met, like it was such an incredible opportunity to network, because everybody that was there because they wanted to show up as the best versions of themselves, mentally, physically, financially, spiritually. Like you want it all. And
Yes.
so there's something really special when you get thousands of people with that same energy, that same desire from all over the world. It was so much fun. Like you had to run, but there weren't bathroom breaks. So when you did have to go to the bathroom, you're like sprinting to the bathroom, and then you're like doing the potty dance in line. And so then you're inevitably meeting new friends in line.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you're meeting new friends in line. And like, so I met women that just flew in from Singapore. I have so many friends from Australia, from the UK. I mean, it was so validating to know. And here I am just like, wow, all I had to do was hop on a 3-hour flight to Florida.
There you
And all
are.
of these people have, like, not only did they cross the globe, but they're also in a totally different time zone. So who am I to complain about
No.
10 a.m. to 3 a.m. when who knows what time zone they're living
All
in?
around the world. Yeah, it's a small world we live in. And, he is a blessing from God himself. I'm absolutely sure and certain of it. He's a wonderful individual and doing amazing work. Now, you talked about stepping out of your comfort zone. I'm wondering, did you have any fear to manage when you were leaving the corporate world? Because there'll be people on this call just about to make that change, but not certain of themselves. What would you say to them?
Oh my God, do it. Do it. Do it. Do it afraid. That was, I mean, like there have been so many different times in my life where just fear of the unknown, or fear of failure, or fear of what could happen. And I like to talk about unshakable faith. And when you lean into that unshakable faith, and you believe in yourself, and you trust God, and you trust his plan, and you just enjoy each step of the journey. Like, my leaving corporate was one of the scariest things that I've ever done.
Mm.
But the joy and the satisfaction and the freedom of taking a chance on myself and everything that's transpired because of that one decision I've made. Like, I'm living a completely different life today than I would have if I would have stayed there. And so what I like to tell people is that you are only one decision away from a completely different life. And if you can just believe in yourself, and really embody unshakable faith, and really develop that mindset of, I am unstoppable and I will succeed no matter what. Whatever you believe is true, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, it's true. So, like when COVID came around and the government tried to close every single business, I remember looking in the mirror and being like, I am unstoppable. I am unstoppable. But like saying it with such belief and such conviction that every single cell in my body could feel that. And then my businesses grew exponentially during the months of the lockdown, and it never really stopped growing after that. So I think that life is 10% about what happens to you and 90% of how you respond. And in your response is where your success is going to live.
I take one thing away from this is that we're living a game almost, as if to say it's not the physical manifestation of what's outside of us, it's actually what's going on inside of us upstairs. We're living our dream, and it's dependent. The story we write for ourselves is dependent on what we think about, what we bring about. Would you agree with that?
I couldn't agree more.
Fantastic. Now, I think to myself, well, if we're in a negative state, let's assume somebody's listening today, Lucy, and they need help. They're in a negative state. You actually teach people how to rewrite their subconscious mind at that level and transform their identity and take those steps towards achieving their goals. Tell us how that works.
Yeah. So we have a robust 16-week program,
Hmm.
and it's based off of 3 pillars. The first pillar is energy, the second is desire, and the third is belief. So energy is really understanding like kind of what we were talking about, that we live in a vibrational universe, and you don't and that we are the magnificent and powerful creators of our own reality,
Hmm.
and that thoughts become things, and we don't attract what we want, we attract what we are. So if we want the life of our dreams, we have to start embodying the emotions of already having achieved that. And we have to start taking actions to level up our level up our emotional state, raise our vibration. And a lot of like the energy work is simply just becoming aware of it, because we can't change things unless we first are aware of their existence. And we like to talk about like the fact that when you take a step back and look at our lives are nothing more than a sequence of patterns, and that we're creatures of habit, and that we're constantly doing the same things
Same
over and
thing.
over and
Yep.
over again. And so and some of these patterns have served us in very good ways, but many times these patterns are holding us back and are not serving us. And whether it's a pattern of focus, because what we focus on, we feel, and sometimes what we're focusing on isn't even real and we're making up a story in our head, or whether it's a pattern of physiology, how we're moving our bodies, like are you working out 5 to 6 days a week? How are you moving your body? Are you running? Are you lifting? Are you dancing? Um, or patterns of language, like what are the words that you're telling yourself? What is the self-talk in your head? Who are you surrounding yourself with? What kind of conversations are you having at the dinner table or during lunch with your coworkers? Because you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. And when you're having positive, uplifting, inspiring conversations, it's going to trigger imagination and excitement and joy and inspiration, versus if you're surrounding with people who all they do is watch CNN or the news,
Mm,
like they're going to be operating in a much lower vibrational level, which is going to be fear and scarcity and lack.
yep.
So it's really important so the first pillar really helps people get a very keen understanding of where they're at, and being able to recognize what they're feeling emotionally, and giving them a toolbox of different techniques and tools to be able to instantaneously raise your vibration. Because when you're in a peak state and you're feeling in, whether you're feeling like in love or passionate or excited or full of life, or you just feel unstoppable, you're going to be making very different decisions than you would if you're operating in a space of scarcity or lack or depression or fear. And so that's why it's really important to just do the morning routines and have the rituals and have these different things set up in your schedule, so that way you're constantly conditioning your mind for with discipline for success, and to experience what freedom or happiness or peace feels like. Because sometimes we get so conditioned into worrying for so long, or feeling so much stress, or feeling so overwhelmed for so long, that we take on these feelings as if they
They were
are
real.
who we are.
Yeah. I
And
I'm loving this. I keep thinking to myself, I think of things like asking for what you want such that it manifests, having faith that it's going to present itself, and just the beauty of it. And if you can do those two things and rewrite that story that you play over and over and over, and like you were saying, these patterns, you will
yeah,
see the results you're looking for. But as we grow older, Lucy, we have a compounding effect. We have so many stories, such a deeply entrenched narrative in our minds. Is that
yes.
something that you can actually unwind and rewrite, do you think?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Mm.
So the third pillar is all about belief, because it's great that you can have a desire and you can have a vision and know, like, yes, it's important to know with absolute clarity what it is that you want.
Mm.
But if you don't have the belief in yourself, if you don't love yourself, if you don't believe that you're worthy of attaining X goal, there's always going to be a vibrational disparity. And that thing or that success or that achievement is always going to be just out of reach. And so that's why it's so important to understand that you are one decision away from a completely different life. Like, you are where you are today based on every single decision you've made up until this point. And the stories that we don't have to be defined by the stories of our past. We don't have to be defined by the current 3D reality that we're living right now. Life is absolutely what we make it. We just have to learn that we have the power to change it. And all change starts with us. We have to begin to live from the inside
Mhm.
out. And all we have to do is rewrite our story, rewrite our belief. Again, a belief is nothing more than just a thought that we keep thinking. So it's really
It's so
important.
simple, isn't it? And yet we
Yeah.
get so locked up in our patterns, our daily beliefs, our limiting beliefs that you've touched so eloquently on. And I do appreciate this because I know there are a lot of people that struggle with this world of omnipresent social media, the impacts of news broadcasting and mobile phone technology. How important do you think it is to switch off from those things occasionally?
Oh my God, absolutely essential. Absolutely essential. I feel like today there's so many distractions. It's almost like set up to distract you, whether
Yes,
you're on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram, whatever your phone like and
it's everywhere.
when all we have to do everything that we'll ever need is within us.
Mm.
And it's so easy for us to forget that simple truth, and it's even easier for us to get distracted by everything else that's calling for our attention. So that's why it's so important for us to live with intention.
Yep.
um One of my favorite things is intention setting, which is something that we teach, and I almost like to talk about it as like putting your order in with the universe. And so it's a really quite it's really amazing, and it's whatever you want to call it, magical, fascinating, all the
Oh,
things.
it's great. It's really magical. It truly is.
But we all have access to this power. But a lot of us, we're trapped in our stories, we're trapped in our patterns, and we're trapped inside of our identities. And our identities are, again, you how long have you been you for? How many years? How many
Long
decades?
enough.
It's yeah, it's I mean, it was something that was probably one of the biggest realizations that I had to come to terms with, that I if if I want different results in my life, I'm going to have to stop doing what I've been doing. And I'm going to have to start to do all sorts of new things. I'm going to have to start new habits, new routines, new patterns of thought. And that's the only way that my reality is going to change. You want a better life? We have to think better thoughts. And that's going to be a lot of repetition and a lot of rewiring the subconscious mind for success. Because when you have to transform your identity, essentially that's death of the ego. And not only is that really scary, but it's really hard because we are who we are, and it's not easy or necessarily fun to change that. But if you have a big enough why and you have a burning desire is the one thing that will go to battle against your paradigm. And once you're able to shift your paradigm or your belief system, that's when you'll start to see real success in any area of your life that you choose.
That's incredible. Just so profoundly insightful. And it's very wise. And I very much appreciate you sharing now as we move into the pointy end of the call today. I'd love to learn just very briefly, who is the ideal person that you love working with?
I love people that want more in life.
Mm.
Like they just know that they were meant for more,
Yeah.
and they feel it and they want it. They just don't know how to get from where they're at to where they want to go. And that's why I'm really excited about what we've put together, because we've put together a step-by-step program to kind of empower people with all the tools and techniques to set them up for success and really start to see and feel and experience reality in a totally different way. A lot of people, it's like a lot of people want the dream house, or they want the car, or they
Hmm.
want the six-pack abs, or whatever it is that they want. But it's like, why do you want those things? Because you believe that you'll experience happiness in the achievement of that thing. But it's like, what if we were able to just experience happiness now just because. And then because we're experiencing happiness, because we're experiencing fulfillment, because we're finally allowing ourselves to feel what joy and gratitude feels like,
Mhm.
then we're opening ourselves up and allowing those things that we desired for so long to just effortlessly flow to us. But like I said, there's a
There's
process and it
there is
takes some
definitely a
work.
process. I tell you what, I'm wondering. I know that this all happens in a certain way. I know that you have a community, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But when you see people's lives transform in a moment, because Tony Robbins talks about that, how long does it take? He says it takes a moment. How does it make you feel when you see people's light switch on all of a sudden? They go and they have that realization.
It's the best. Like there's no better feeling than that. It's like sometimes I have to remind myself that you can't want it enough for somebody else. They have to want it. And as soon as they figure out that that they're usually the that they're usually the ones getting in their
The
own way.
roadblock, yeah.
Yes, and they realize that their excuses have not been serving them, then it's kind of like a light bulb moment when it's like, whoa, I can rewrite my history and I don't have to be defined by what I lived in my past or even what I'm experiencing now today. Like it's such a beautiful, liberating and empowering moment. Like there are no words.
I tell you what, you are a true North Star, and I know that you've energized me today, and I'm thinking for sure and certain, in fact, that you've energized anybody who's listening to this. Now, if they want to work with you, where do they go? What's the onboarding process?
Yeah. So I'm actually super excited because we have this robust 16-week program, but we've condensed it down to about an hour and a half training. And this free training, anybody can access, all of your listeners can access it if they go to this website, ultimatesuccessblueprint.com/ my future business show.
Wow.
So anybody that's listening today can go ahead and download that free training, and it's going to give them tools and techniques that they can start implementing in their day today so they can start living a better tomorrow.
Great feedback. Look, anybody who's listening to this wonderful call today, I'm pretty sure you've taken away a bundle of value. But if you're looking for more, you want to work with Lucie, then I will be making sure that the URL that she has just mentioned will be available to you below this post. No matter where you find it and listen to the show, you'll be able to find the link back to this wonderful program. With all that being said, Lucie, this has been an incredible call. Thank you so very much for joining me on the My Future Business Show today.
Thank you.